I would like to introduce a third voice into our discussion, Mrs. Polina Aronson, who's a sociologist and journalist born in St. Petersburg. She works for Dekoder since October 2019 and is one of the two editors who supervise the Russian part of this German-Russian project. So please welcome Mrs. Polina Aronson.
Hi, hello everybody. It's great to see you. Let me switch to my presentation as well. So I was actually going to start from a different point, but now listening to all of you also talking about Rapple and Redfish, I actually want to start with an anecdote which can probably best provide with the rationale for existence of such media as Dekoder. So like most of us, I have a hairdresser. And my hairdresser is a hipster young man with a beautiful hipster studio in hipster Friedrichshain. He goes climbing, he likes his Berghain, he's a vegan, and his wife is from Sweden. So recently, while he was cutting my hair, he was chatting to me about his wife's job. And she was pregnant, and she was one of the very few people who we all know who got a proper maternity leave. I was, as a person who has two children and never had a maternity leave, I was very interested in what kind of organization is still rich enough to provide their female employers with such luxury. It turned out that she works as a video designer for a certain media production place. Which media production place, I asked, being a journalist. He didn't know quite, but he knew that there was something related to some Russian shit, and she was doing some short videos. He didn't know further. I asked him to Google it up or ask his wife, and late in the evening, he wrote me it was Rapple. So this little anecdote is just to demonstrate that vegan eating, Berghain going, hipster liking people in Berlin don't really distinguish between good and bad. For them, places like Rapple have established themselves firmly. They are salonfähig, they have gained their place, and there is no need to question what kind of information are they providing, what exactly are they doing, what is going on there. And on top of that, these kind of places are unfortunately very good employers, if you ask me. So having encountered that little story, I thought, about how important it is to continue to bring different pictures of Russia into the German media, to continue telling an alternative story, and to actually, really invest time and effort into making known that places like, media platforms like Rapple are actually disruptive. So I'm going to talk about Dekoder, which actually is performing precisely that role. We see our mission in serving as a bridge between the Russian and the German journalism and expertise in Russian affairs. And Dekoder was established in 2015, initially as a media platform that translated Russian independent media sources and was giving a new perspective on current Russian civil society to German readers, and was also accompanying these journalistic stories with extensive academic commentary. So the added value of Dekoder is not just that it translates independent Russian journalism into German, but that it also provides context for whatever story is being told. And that's really important because so often people in Europe, even with the best intentions, don't quite understand the context, they don't understand the details, they don't understand the realities, or they may be understanding them in a skewed perspective precisely because the work of Rapple is damn good and it reaches its audience. So initially Dekoder was set up to do this kind of work, translating from Novaya Gazeta, translating from Kolta, translating from Kavkazский Uzel into German, and supplying German reader with this first-hand independent journalism. But last year, we have started a new project, and this is the one I'm responsible for, we are now doing it the other way around. That is that we're translating selections from German mass media and also provide them with contextualization and expert commentary on European and German affairs. Here, of course, there is, you can ask me straightforwardly, you know, there is a very straightforward question about the selection of what do we translate, what do we do for the Russian audience, because the other way around, you know, it's very clear. There is a gaping hole of independent voices from Russia in the German media, mostly because not many German newspapers, media organizations are able to send their reporters on the grounds. They don't report directly, they have to rely on second sources. Also because not that many people can actually read in the Russian language, even when they have access to Russian independent media on the internet. So there is a very clear gap, and there is a very clear audience who wants to know about what's happening in Russia. When we work for the Russian audience with the German media, of course, it's not that clear, because of course we can have an argument about how independent German press is, but here the criteria of whether the media is state-funded, state-controlled or not doesn't really apply. So we are in the open sea. It's much harder to make decisions about what exactly we want to translate and what kind of story we want to tell. So I think for us, we're guided mostly by the principle of what is of greatest concern to the Russian audience now, what kind of problems do they have on their side, and how can we, from the European perspective or from the German perspective, contribute to the debate that they're already having. So if people in Russia are concerned about, let's say, what is cryptically called cancel culture, then we are trying to provide them with excerpts from the German media that demonstrate how the debate in Europe treats this topic. If people are concerned with Navalny situation, then of course we're trying to provide them with reports from German media and their perspective on what's going on. So for us at the moment, we're mostly guided by the needs of our audience in Russia. We try to understand what the needs are by, you know, following the social media, by understanding what the other media outlets in Russia are publishing, but we're still working on it. For us, it's still work in progress to understand what exactly we are doing here. So nevertheless, we have a mission. We have a threefold mission. Part number one, we tell stories that Russian media won't tell. For the same reasons that there are stories the German media won't tell about Russia. Russian media outlets, with the exception of the infamous Russia Today, often don't have foreign correspondents in Europe and in Germany. They can't report direct from the grounds. They're insufficiently equipped. And of course, we're much better situated to reach out to what's really happening here in Europe and offer a translation. As ever, the added value is that we comment and that we contextualize the stories, and I will show you in a moment how exactly we do it. So we explain why the story is important, and we explain parts of it that might be unfamiliar to the user in Russia. And we offer a knowledge base on European affairs, and that is that we work with academics who give us expertise, which we also publish along journalistic stories so that people can use this knowledge base independently of the media side of the website. So I'll show you in a second how it works, because I know it sounds very theoretical. So let's look at our formats. The most straightforward is just a basic translation. I'll just show you how it works. We're very proud to have translated a mammoth of a work, a contribution by Jürgen Habermas himself for the Blätter für deutsche und internationale Politik. So we translated this big article for the anniversary of the German reunification. And we, of course, have contextualized it. So let me show you how it works. This is just a translation. This is just a long text. And you can see there are a lot of words here which are marked light blue. These words, if you just put a mouse here, a cursor, you will see a blurb. A blurb is a short explanation of what's meant. And we're really we're really proud of this tool that we have, because it allows the user who doesn't know much about Germany to really delve into the context and to understand what's going on. And for this article alone, I have personally written 62 blurbs. So you can see that sometimes the context is more important than the text. The next format is media review. We call it, it's like basically it's a bit like a Presseschau, just like a typical digest. The difference is that we also always provide with contextualization. Let me show you. Sorry, it's a bit slow. So our latest was about the fire in Moria. We collected snippets from different German mass media and have shown the Russian reader that there are very different opinions about what's going on. The people are arguing about the possibility of building of such camps altogether, the possibilities of placing immigrants into different places, about what to do with them, about how migration politics should look altogether. So you'll see we pick from the Zeit, we pick from Süddeutsche Zeitung, we take from Tagesspiegel, from FAZ, we also take from social media if there is anything interesting to take. So we try to look at the broad spectrum of mass media. We don't shy away from the Bild-Zeitung as well for Debattenschau, because we know that, you know, if they're popular and if they're read, we need to show to the reader what they're saying, even if we personally don't agree with their point of view. What's important about this format is that we always write an introduction to it, so we don't just pull together different citations and snippets from the press. We explain to the reader why this is important and how this also corresponds to what they might be thinking about, what might be worrying them, because migration policy, racism, there's also problems which haunt people in Russia. So we try to tell them, okay, look, we also have these problems and we talk about them in this way. Again, blurbs are always a part of any text that Decoder publishes, so this format is also full of them. We have also short interviews with experts on specific topics. For these interviews, we always look for academics who can shed light on specific issues, problems, topics either in Russian-German relations or in, you know, phenomena that is happening in Germany, historical phenomena, current affairs, whatever, you name it. But the important thing is that it's an academic, it's an expert who gives their knowledge, who is not a journalist, somebody who can give, you know, their research perspective and sometimes maybe provide a more objective view or maybe give a more historical perspective. So this is the latest. We have spoken to a very famous academic, Christian Godze, who wrote a scandalous book about why women had better sex under socialism. And we wanted to find out whether she thinks that after the reunification, Germany has become a gender equal country. Because in her book, she's comparing GDR to West Germany. So we usually ask 5 to 6 questions. We'll make a list at first, and then the reader can just jump to whatever interests them. Yet again, there are always blurbs. So this is the first-hand content we produce. Everything else is more or less second-hand content. Translations, press digest, this is just something that we take from other places. Of course, we contextualize it. This is our job, but interviews is something that we do ourselves. Finally, the final format and the final type of our first-hand content, which we're really, really proud of, it's called Gnose. And basically, it's a short article written by an academic, and it's also always an academic, on a certain issue. So it's a little bit like the interview, but of course it has much more depth and it's written as a whole text. This format, we have them, I just have to say that all of those formats work in the German language decoder also. So when my colleagues translate from Russian into German, And when they run their website, they also have the same format. So it works both ways. We have by now actually accumulated a really significant base of this quasi-academic articles, which our readers can read through without having to read any of the journalistic contributions. We have very different topics. One of my favorite is about representation of Germans in the Russian cinema and Russians in the German cinema. We did it for the Berlinale, and it has been written by a very established academic in the field, Oksana Bulgakova. And the difference of, what makes GNOS different from a proper academic article is that it's a lot more readable. So if you're interested in a certain subject, but you don't have access to academic journals, or you're not really willing to read the academic language, go to Decoder, and you will find a lot of interesting stuff on Russian-German issues. We also have specials. I think that I'm running out of time, so I'm not going to be long about it. So we have photo galleries, we have multimedia dossiers, and we have infographics. I'll just show you what a good multimedia dossier can look like. Oops, very briefly. Why is it not working? Okay, because we have very little time, I'm not going to stop here.
That's okay. No, I mean, take your time. It's very
okay, then let me just exit the full screen and I'll just show it to you on the website. So our latest this year is about the Russian Germans, or the so-called Russian Germans, I should be correct here. And it's full of very different kind of information and very different kind of formats and media. For example, here you have, just look at it, questions and answers, everything you need to know about the story, the history of the Russian Germans. We'll also have contacted an academic to give us a short interview, to give us explanations about what Russian Germans are, where they come from. So here you have, again, a list of questions that you can open and receive an answer that you might be interested in. You have a photographic part of it. You have a photo gallery about the life of Russian Germans in the former USSR. So you have, it's accompanied by an academic text about why photography is important, why is it an important medium, what we can learn from it. But here you also, don't have just pictures from people's private collections. You also have recordings of these people's voices telling their stories. So it's a mixture of different formats, it's a mixture of different media, and it makes the dossier a really very rich way of talking to the audience. We can't afford doing it with every material that we publish, so we're very dedicated to our dossiers, because this is where we can really play around and develop different new approaches to how to present information. So we have dossiers about different topics. The Russian German is just one of them. We also have a dossier about Ostarbeiter. We have a whole dossier about perestroika and the collapse of the Berlin Wall. We have a Crimea dossier, which was dedicated to the annexation of Crimea. And what else didn't I mention? I don't think I can name all of that. You should go to dekoder.org and check for yourself. So generally, who are our readers? We try to reach out to two audiences in general, and I fully agree with Irina, who said before that the audience in Germany is extremely, it's not homogeneous at all. It's really hard to say who are all these people. You have to be very precise. It's even harder for us to say who are all these people in Russia. The audience obviously is even more heterogeneous. In general, we understand ourselves as an analytical platform. We publish in the long read format. It's clear that we reaching out to people who have interest in international affairs, people who are able and are willing to read a text that contains 2,000 words. So it makes our audience already quite limited. But for that, I think that we have a rather dedicated audience. It's the same people who come back, and we have a pool of stable readers. We don't really aim at reaching out to immigrants or expats or Russian-speaking diasporas in Germany, because I think to reach out to them, we need to raise a completely different agenda and to really understand what the needs of these different groups and diasporas are. So we try to reach out to them when we have something that is related to very current affairs, so that, you know, if somebody living in Germany and not really speaking German wants to know what's going on with coronavirus, they can read interviews with Drosten on Decoder, and in that case we reach out to our partners, so Radio Cosmo, for example, or Quorum. It's an organization that carries out political education of Russian-speaking immigrants in Germany. They take selected materials from our website and try to reach out to their audiences. But in principle, we don't see Russian-speaking diasporas, immigrants, people in Germany as our main audience. Finally, the most interesting part, of course, who is paying for all this? We have a variety of sponsors. We have been at the beginning sponsored by the Zeitstiftung. They have kindly given us a chunk of money to launch the Russian version of Decoder. We have lately been working with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, with the Auswärtige Amt, which has sponsored our dossiers on social polarization, climate change, migration, and corona. So most of the topics that we work on now, we work on with the support of the AA. We work with Bundesstiftung für Aufarbeitung, the foundation for, I don't even know what they call in English, to be honest. That's a shame. The foundation for overcoming of the communist dictatorship. So with their kind support, we are working on topics related to perestroika and the collapse of the GDR. And finally, we're also raising money via our own website, and we have a bit of our budget is coming from private donations. So I think I've told you everything I know about Decoder. So if you have any questions, please throw them in. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this presentation, Mrs. Aronson. There was also already one comment for all of you, of all keynote speakers. Very interesting topic and great presentations. Thank you, all presenters. Has one participant written into the chat. Does anyone have any questions for Mrs. Polina Aronson? Oh yeah, this was from Mr. Mukotic Tonoyan. I'm sorry, I haven't. So the participant was one of our co-organizers who wrote it. Anyways, so are there any questions for Mrs. Aronson? Yes, from Mrs. Irene Chevtaeva.
Hi, thank you. I have quite a small question. Do you collect the questions from the readers for the part of your site that is called Спрашиваем, отвечаем? How do you collect the questions where you're answering on them?
We don't collect the questions. It's basically just a name for a format. We don't collect the questions directly, but we follow the agenda. You know, these topics, they don't just appear from nowhere. We're monitoring what are people interested in right now, what kind of questions are they discussing. So it's спрашивали, отвечаем, which in Russian means you've asked, we answer. It's an artistic license. It's not it doesn't presuppose that we have collected some actual questions from the audience, but it's actually a very good idea. Maybe we should start doing it.
Okay, then I want to thank you very much, Mrs. Aronson, for concluding our 4th day of our Media Dialogue Conference.